Bhakti Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to all glories to Sri Guru Shivananda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So this morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, entitled Status Quo, Chapter 22, Chapter 24, the renunciation of Muni. We're on text 31. Tanyeva te virupani.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Now come.
I don't know if they could see.
You could turn, push it back.
Back?
I think you can see, right?
You could see?
Push it back a little bit. We're all right. That's good.
Rupani Bhagavamstava.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Yani Yani Chorochante.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Rupani Bhagavamstava.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Yani Yani Chorochante.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Swajananam Arupinaha. Thank you.
Tanyeva te virupani. Tanyeva te virupani. Rupani Bhagavansava. Rupani Bhagavansava. Yani Yani Charochante. Yani Yani Charochante. Swajananam Arupinaha. Swajananam Arupinaha. Tanyeva te virupani. Tanyeva te virupani. Rupani Bhagavansava. Rupani Bhagavansava. Yani Yani Charochante. Yani Yani Charochante. Swajananam Arupinaha. Swajananam Arupinaha.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Swajanam Arupinaha.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Tani eva te virupani.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Svagyanam Arupinaha.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Swajananam Arupinaha. Go ahead.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Tanyeva te virupani.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Rupani Bhagavansava.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Yani Yani Charochante.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Swajananam Arupinaha.
Tani,
Tani.
those.
Those.
Eva,
Eva,
truly.
truly.
Te,
Te,
your.
your.
Abhirupani,
Abhirupani,
suitable.
suitable.
Rupani,
Rupani,
forms.
forms.
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
O Lord.
O Lord.
Tava,
Tava,
your.
your.
Yani, yani,
Yani, yani,
whichever.
whichever.
Cha,
Cha,
and.
and.
Rochante,
Rochante,
are pleasing.
are pleasing.
Swajananam,
Swajananam,
to your own devotees.
to your own devotees.
Rupinaha,
Arupinaha,
of one with no material form.
one who has no material form.
Translation. My dear Lord, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They truly are your transcendental forms, which are pleasing to your devotees. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita it is stated that the Lord is one absolute, but he has ananta, or innumerable forms. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadam, Anantarupam. The Lord is the original form, but still he has multi-forms. Those multi-forms are manifested by him transcendentally, according to the taste of his multi-devotees. It is understood that once Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Ramchandra, said that he knew that Narayan, the husband of Lakshmi, and Ram, the husband of Sita, are one and the same, and that there is no difference between Lakshmi and Sita. But as for himself, he liked the form of Lord Ram. In a similar way, some devotees worship the original form of Krishna. When we say Krishna, we refer to all forms of the Lord, not only Krishna, but Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, Narayan, etc. The varieties of transcendental forms exist simultaneously. That is also stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murtishu Nanavataram. He already exists in multi-forms, but none of the forms are material. Sridhar Swami has commented that arupanaha, without form, means without material form. The Lord has form, otherwise how can it be stated here? Taneva te birupani rupani bhagawatsaptaha. You have your forms, but they are not material. Materially you have no form. But spiritually, transcendentally, you have multi-forms. Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand these transcendental forms of the Lord. In being disappointed, they say that the Supreme Lord is impersonal. But that is not a fact. Whenever there is form, there is a person. Many times in many Vedic literatures, the Lord is described as Purusha, which means the original form, the original enjoyer. The conclusion is that the Lord has no material form, and yet, according to the liking of different grades of devotees, he simultaneously exists in multi-forms, such as Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, Narayan, and Mukunda. There are many thousands and thousands of forms, but they are all Vishnu Tattva, Krishna. Om Ganati Vrandasya Gananjana Shavakaya Chakshuvan Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namha Mukam Kadidvachalam Pangam Mangai Tegrim Vekpatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diritanam Vancha Kapuribhishta Kibasindu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanido Vaishnadevo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'll just read the translation again. My dear Lord, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They truly are your transcendental forms, which are pleasing to your devotees. So yeah, the Mayavadis, they say that Krishna has, that his form is material or mundane. They don't see it as spiritual. And they think that ultimately the whole point is just to merge with God. That's the whole idea, become one with God. And they may worship the deity. They may worship the deity of Krishna or Vishnu or different forms of God. But at one point, they cast that aside as unnecessary or like that. And Srila Prabhupada, he illustrated this he was in Mayapur one time, and he was there many times, but one of the times he was there, he was getting off the boat, because you got to cross the river on the boat. So he was getting off the boat, and Tamal Krishna Goswami was there, and Maharaj was helping Srila Prabhupada off the boat, with his hands, and then Prabhupada accepted the help, and then Prabhupada pushed him away, and then Maharaj was like, oh, wonder what's going on here, and then Srila Prabhupada explained. He said that, this is what the Mayavadis do. They accept. The Mayavadis, they worship the deity, and then they just cast him away once their goal is achieved. That's interesting, and we see that with this is the deal with all materialistic or mundane people. That they accept people, and they accept situations, and they accept so many things with the idea of fulfilling their own materialistic agendas. And then, when that is fulfilled, when they're satisfied, then they cast away that relationship or that situation or whatever it may be, right? And these are whether it be romantic relationships, right? They get together and the aim is fulfilled, and then, or whatever the situation is. So we can see clearly that this is a materialistic mindset. Whereas the devotees, they're actually just interested in the service itself, service to Krishna, loving Krishna. And even on a mundane platform, people could, or even on a, you could say, mode of goodness platform or a platform of piety, people could actually understand this principle too. Like I just talked to somebody recently, and she was saying how her mother was taking care of her the mother's boyfriend, right, who was quite old. It's like 94. Somehow they didn't get married. But, and this person was telling me, yes, my mother, she really, she's really taking care of him, and, she really loved this fellow, right? But the whole point was that this guy was like really, say cheap, he didn't help her financially, and she wasn't very well-to-do financially. So, he was like super cheap. Like, you go to Costco. Anyways, we'll get back to it. But he'll go to Costco and, the big store Costco. And he wouldn't take her out to dinner, He would just go out to Costco and, all the samples, That's what, that was like him taking her out to dinner, Hey, let's go to, and then they just get the samples, and then, the people were familiar with this couple, they would see him every week or whatever, and they'd give him a little extra, he's an older guy, like that. He's a really cheap guy, And that's when someone's still cheap, So he would take her out like that, and then he wouldn't really help her financially, like at all. Even, this point illustrates what I just said, illustrates what I'm saying. But when he passed away, and he's 94, so he passed away, and he left her nothing, like absolutely nothing. And that's what this person was telling me, the daughter was telling me. He left the mother nothing. But he left all the money to his daughter, who wasn't really taking care of him. She was taking care of him. So that's kind of interesting. But what's interesting about it is that this guy, the 94-year-old guy, within his mind, he was like convinced, like he was doing the right thing. Like, yeah, this is right, this is normal. And somehow or other, he was convinced of that, of being super cheap and not leaving her anything. He didn't feel bad about it. Because there's some people that they know what they're doing is wrong, like they kind of sense that within them, but still they just, go along with it. But there's some people who are like convinced what they're doing is right, even though it may be hurtful to others and all that. That's interesting. But what's really amazing is that this woman, she knew that. she knew that he was not going to give her anything, but she still was helping him, out of the kindness of her heart. She was, for whatever reason. You could say that obviously she, on some level, loved the guy. So it's like that with, of course, that's it's not in relation to Krishna, like the relation with Krishna, but the devotee is also like that. They don't really want anything. It doesn't matter, if Krishna, if Krishna gives me this, or Krishna gives me that. But the point is that the devotee will serve Krishna no matter what. It doesn't really matter what Krishna gives or what he doesn't give, or what's happening in my life, what's not happening in my life. The devotee will just serve Krishna no matter what. This service is actually based on, you could say love or affection and attraction to Krishna. So how does this develop within us? We in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna, Rukmini, she wants to be married by Krishna, and she actually is eventually. But the problem is she's there in a place, right? And her brother, Rukma, there's like Rukma and there's a few Ruks, Actually, they're all Ruks. The brothers and the one sister. I forgot the other Ruk, yeah. But the brother, Rukma, does not want Rukmini to be married to Krishna because he's envious of Krishna, right? But she wants to. She really wants to. So the brother Rukma, he's arranging, okay, my dear sister, you could get married to Shishupal. And that was not even the last thing she wanted to do. That wasn't even on the list of people. And it's a demoniac guy, and she's a devotee. She doesn't. That's like the definition of HELL, right? So then devotees are very clever, right? What to speak of, pure devotees are very clever. So she sends this letter to Krishna via Brahman. The Brahman goes to Dwarka and goes to Krishna's palace, and Krishna receives him. He worships him and washes his feet and feeds him and all that. And it says, interesting enough, that Krishna's actually the Brahman reads the letter out loud to Krishna, and then Krishna's actually feeling nervous because he wants to marry her as well. He's feeling a little nervous. I guess it's all like a distorted reflection, right? Because when people get married, I'm sure there's some nervousness there. The man's nervous, the woman's nervous, and then they may leave, or they have that cold feet, right? Everything. Right? But how did she develop this attraction? It said that she developed this attraction by hearing about Krishna, by hearing that the sages would come and talk about Krishna, and she developed this attraction for Krishna by hearing. So eventually, Krishna, he accepts, and then of course there's this whole dramatic scene and where Krishna gets Rukmini, and very wonderful. Right? They have that drama in Los Angeles every year because Rukmini Dwarkadish are there, so it's a big celebration up there. We don't celebrate here, but it's there. So if you want to see that drama. But also we see that this love comes through service as well. So hearing and also through service, serving someone. Just like this, like I was given the example of that woman, she was serving that 94-year-old, whatever, boyfriend or something. So that love was there due to all of her service. And so that's quite natural. Just like in traditional, which is not very common nowadays, practically not at all, but at least in long time ago in Vedic times, right? Vedic proper times, the girl who was going to marry the boy, who was of older age, how it's explained, she would not move in right away, but she would visit, or the boy would visit her house with her parents there and all that. And she would serve the prospective candidate, the boy, right? Cook and, serve the prasadam. And like this, there'd be a relationship developing. And by that service there was a natural attraction, affection developed there. And even we could analyze within our own life if we have some opportunity where we get to serve our spiritual master, for example. Like I got the opportunity, my good fortune, right, of going to Houston. And for about a week, I was serving my spiritual master, His Holiness Giraj Swami, there in Houston. And yeah, it was quite amazing. It was wonderful, It was simple things, just whatever, helping cook prasadam, serve prasadam, wash the pots afterwards, just stuff like that. But I was busy helping them with this and that, so many things. But yeah, through that service, there was that attraction developing, or that relationship developing, and upon leaving, having to leave, because sometimes you have to leave. I remember when I was a little younger, I used to visit my father more often up in Oregon. We'd spend the whole summer together, and family and friends and all that. And then when I'd have to leave, it was like very painful. There was, you kind of have that feeling that, oh, I'm not going to see these people for a while, and whatever, you get emotional, you cry, whatever it is. So that would happen. Now when I leave, I'm a little better. I'm a little more composed. I may, at some points, I don't feel that, but some points I feel it. But I just kind of, I'm a little more composed, with my family, biological family. But with my spiritual master, like I felt that, and I was having a hard time being composed, and I actually wasn't composed, because I had to leave, and okay, so. But the point is, like through the service and I was hearing from him, serving him like that. And then the relationship develops more. So yeah, this whole idea of Krishna being impersonal and all these different types of ideas, devotees are very glad and happy that Krishna is not just some impersonal light and force, but Krishna is a person. There's a form, and there's a form to serve. Just like in the spiritual world, there's descriptions that in the spiritual world, devotees, they're fanning, right, Radha Krishna with the chamara and offering flowers and betel nuts or whatever they're doing, right? There's also a group who dresses Krishna in the morning, right? There's a whole group who dresses Krishna. Krishna just doesn't wake up and throw something on or whatever it is. But he's dressed, with devotees, and there's a whole cooking, right? There's a whole process that Srimati Radharani and her friends go through to make nice preparations, big breakfast, right? That's listed in this wonderful song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhoga Arti, all the different preparations that are made, and how Srimati Radharani's there, and Krishna's looking at Srimati. So it's wonderful. So if we have deities, whether we're in a temple or whether we're outside of a temple, we have deities, and we're practicing serving Krishna, right? In different ways. So this is a wonderful thing. This is quite amazing, actually, that we could do that. And this is actually one of the 5 that Rupa Goswami lists. One of the 5 most important forms of devotional service is deity worship. Interesting enough. It's actually quite interesting because, as we know, the process of deity worship is not, you could say, the main process within this age. It is not. Like devotees asked Prabhupada, I think it was in Mayapur as well, they said about deity worship. Well, Prabhupada, this and that, because devotees have a lot of questions and about. And then Prabhupada said, keep it simple. The deity worship simple because, this is Kali Yuga. The process in Kali Yuga is chanting the holy name. So although that's the main process, this is listed as one of the 5 most potent forms of devotional service, deity worship. And the six Goswamis, they also worship deities, right? Radharaman and right, Govindaji and Madan Mohan. So many wonderful deities they're worshiping, installing, worshiping, making sure that they're worshipped. So within the descriptions of a Kanishta Adhikari, Kanishta Adhikari is that, or materialistic devotee, right? It says, oh, they see Krishna, they see deity in the temple, and they don't see God anywhere else, right? They don't know how to respect devotees, and respect people in general, right? But they just see God right there. And then sometimes the conceptions there, okay, well, the neophytes worship the deities, and the advanced devotees don't, right? But clearly that's not the case. Six Goswamis worshiping deities. Yes, neophyte devotees can worship the deities, but it's not that every single person who worships the deities is a neophyte. That's because that could develop misconceptions. There's many misconceptions that could develop. That is a fact. If there's anything that's a fact, that's a fact. Many misconceptions could develop. And we see Srila Prabhupada that he engaged his disciples in deity worship. He was very eager to do that, actually. Very eager. He wasn't just kind of like, all right, well, I guess we got it. Prabhupada wasn't thinking, okay, I guess we got to do this. He was thinking, no, I must do this. This is very important for their spiritual life. Every place he would go to, eventually, if it was their temple and everything, he would install deities. Like Radha, London, Ishvara, right? There's a wonderful, I just read about. They were going to open the temple, and they didn't have Radha Krishna deities at that time. It was just, and they're wondering where we're going to get Radha Krishna. Because Prabhupada actually, I was reading Shyamasundar Prabhu's book, wonderful book. Actually, it's one of the best books I read in relation to Prabhupada. It's really wonderful, written and everything. So he was there, and all the devotees were there, and there's no deities. They were like, what are we going to do? There's no deities. And then Prabhupada actually tried to contact a few devotees from India. But it takes so long. You know how India is even now. I mean, it takes forever to get something done. I mean, you got to be very expert, right? Get a dhoti, you have to think really. Anyways, Dharma Setu's trying to get some kurtas made, and it was like two problems. So no one was responding. So then, somehow or other, one of the members in the congregation, Indian fellow, they called and they said, oh, we have these deities, we'd like you to come, look at the deities. And then Srila Prabhupada went there with Tamal Krishna Goswami and Shyamasundar and Yamuna, and maybe Guru Das was there. So they all went there, and so the deities were there, and then Srila Prabhupada had this mood like he wasn't impressed type of thing. He was just kind of very serious, very grave. When they opened the box, Prabhupada just kind of went like this, and all the devotees were falling on the ground and everything. And then over time, devotees started to realize, okay, we should follow what Prabhupada's doing. He's very kind of standoffish, serious. And the people say how there was Radharani's, I think her finger was broken, something like that, cracked or broken. So Prabhupada said, oh yeah, they're nice and everything. And then at one point, Prabhupada tells Tamal Krishna Goswami, says, oh, can you pick up Radharani, see how heavy she is? And then he picks her up. And then he says, okay, take her out to the car, And then they start doing that. And then he says, Guru Das, can you pick up Krishna? And then he picks up Krishna. Okay, take her out to the car. And all the Indians are kind of like, oh, hey, what's going on here, Because Prabhupada's not giving any payment. He's not, he's not giving any payment, one. And they didn't offer to, give him. And then, so they're walking out. And they got these shocked looks on their faces and everything. And then Prabhupada's saying, okay, well, thank you very much, and please come to the deity installation. It's going to be here on this day. So then they bring him out to the car, and then, put him in, and then Prabhupada's sitting out in the car, and then, these people are still looking at shocked, and, okay, see you, and they drive off, right? So then they drive off about 2 blocks away, or whatever it is, and then Prabhupada says, oh, stop the car, and then Prabhupada, he turns around and he, folds his palm and he starts chanting Brahma Samhita prayers, to Krishna, and says, oh, Krishna's so merciful, he's appearing, like that. And then George Harrison, he had this expert sculptor and marble man or whatever, and he fixed up Radharani, and they installed deities. Shamasundar was so tired that he slept for like, he was working really hard. He said he slept for, I think it was 24, 48 hours, something like that, something crazy. So he missed the ceremony. But in the ceremony, somehow or other Shamasundar Prabhu didn't secure the marble pillar, right? And in the whole process, the pillar actually started to fall, and the deities were close by. Then Prabhupada like hopped up there and stopped the pillar. The devotee said he was like Lord Nrsingadev, and very strong, right? It was a very strong, very intense, heavy pillar. Shamasundar Prabhu heard about that later. He apologized to Prabhupada, but Prabhupada was actually very happy with him, and he said that they should arrange that there's a plaque outside of the temple that says, this was built by the hard work of Shamasundar, Das Adhikari, like that. So, so Prabhupada was very eager to install deities all over the world, and that's exactly what he did. Radha Krishna deities, Gaura Nitai deities all over the world, and to see that they're worshipped nicely. And this is how we actually become. How we become qualified as disciples. That we get some service from the spiritual master, and we do that service nicely, right? That's how we become qualified as disciples. And without becoming disciples, we can't really become gurus. And without becoming gurus, we're not really fulfilling the order of Lord Chaitanya, right? Because Lord Chaitanya is saying, Tarita, what is it? Yaridekitata Krishna Badesh Maragana Hoy Taridesh, that wherever you go, whoever you meet, you become a guru and deliver the people, deliver the land. So you have to become qualified disciple, then qualified guru. And practically we see that the main problem, or one of the main problems with people in general nowadays is that people have a hard time actually becoming students, disciples. They have a really hard time doing that. We get so many guys joining here, the ashram. It's very difficult for them to actually think, I'm a student here. And what does it mean? A student means that there's some correction, right? Sometimes, if not a lot, right? And that there's training as a student. So that's very important, because the disciple means student, means discipline. And we see that, that's a huge problem actually nowadays. Even people's ability to concentrate. It's like, God, it's getting scary actually. They say that, I was talking with one teacher at a college, and she was saying that she read a study that some guy came up with. I don't know if it was a study or a paper, but intelligent fellow in society, he said that nowadays people are losing the ability to concentrate. And there's this thing that where you read something and you just be there absorbed in the information. People are losing that. People aren't reading very much, and they're losing that ability just to concentrate. But what this guy was saying is that that might not be so bad, that might be good, I was thinking, how is that good, this is like, because everything's kind of like the movie industry, everything's kind of, flashing fast, and everything kind of quick, right? Everything quick, so people are losing concentration. And he said that people are becoming more like hunters and gatherers type of thing, just kind of. So yeah, it's challenging actually. It's very challenging for people to concentrate and focus and be a student and kind of accept the training. But anyways, I guess it's fun for all the devotees, right? It becomes a challenge to try to help people. So yeah, the point why I'm saying is that because in relation to Krishna, he has a form and he has a personality, and there's a spiritual world, and so this all requires training and education, and requires someone becoming a disciple, student, to actually understand this, or else they won't understand it. They'll think, oh, what is this? So yeah, that's an important point, that we have to ourselves become convinced of the value of Krishna consciousness, And also, upon becoming convinced, we have to try to convince others. That's our great family business. We become convinced, and then we try to convince others. So this is you could say the transcendental fun. Prabhupada set up. So, does anyone have any questions or comments about anything? Anything you'd like to? Yes, Javita.
The last point you were making there.
I will mention the normalization of deviance. I was going to mention that here, but I didn't mention it. I'll mention it another time.
Okay.
I didn't forget.
Okay. That last part you mentioned about people losing the ability to concentrate.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I don't know, maybe the old timers, anyone has white hair, can remember Marshall McLuhan. Remember Marshall McLuhan? And the hot medium and the cold medium? I don't know if you ever read this, was in the 60s. But this was very big, and he was, it's exactly related to this. And he was saying, like, a cold medium, if I have it right now, I was looking it up, I didn't have time. It's when you have to bring more of yourself to it. That's reading a book. In other words, the book is just sitting there. You have to read it, you have to study it, you have to think about it. In other words, it's an active, more of a relationship. The hot medium is like TV. It's, it's all given to you. You're basically just a receptacle. And now with the advent of the computer and the smartphones and especially, because I never got into this, I'm too old, the video games. Video games are bigger than movies in terms of billions of dollars sold. Yeah. It's just like everything is this hot medium. And that means that it's exactly like that. It's this way, that way, this way, brain, and the ability to just be, as it said right in the Bhagavatam and in the second verse, Shushusho, this word Shushusho is worth understanding. It means, obviously based on hearing, but it means, Prabhu would define it as this famous phrase, submissive oral reception, or ardent hearing. Think Parikit. All he's doing is hearing. But he's so focused and receptive that he's not feeling any hunger, he's not feeling any pain from not eating or drinking for a whole week. That's Shushusho. And it says in the second verse, if you hear the Bhagavatam that way, you'll have Krishna manifest in your heart. That's sufficient for God realization. What's the need for any other book? So that's really the ideal, and that's an essential aspect of it. That's the first process, Shravanam Kirtan Krishna. So the fact that that's being lost is a big problem for preaching. And the fact that, one of the things that that anyone who's been in the movement for a while, when I joined, there's no computers, when you join, it's like a different world, And practically they have to remind you to call your mother, that there is an outside world, you came from somewhere, you should try to. Nowadays, everyone's got their little phone with them, and the computers everywhere, the Wi-Fi is everywhere. And so you're exposed to so many different things. And so many doubts can arise, and like that. So it's much more of a challenge, as you say, to train someone, to get them in the mood of being willing, that 7th verse, 2nd chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Karpanya Dosha Bhagavata Sabha. Arjuna was bringing in so many different things he'd heard. And it only worked when he gave all that up and kicked it out and said, no, now you tell me what's actually. That's really the essential step.
When you said that, Arjuna heard, but I was thinking in relation to this, that Indra Swami, he really set up a nice thing there in Poland, because he has all this devotional Krishna conscious entertainment, the dramas and the kirtans and the music and the prasadam, and it's a whole wonderful thing. So it's nice, probably cultural conquest.
It's totally into that.
Yeah.
And that's necessary today, because people need all of these media.
Yeah, and Tirthamaj was telling me that in America, it's especially from his traveling, that people, when he gives the talks, like at the lounge or something like that, that people really require a lot of, entertainment. He said in other places of the world, they're kind of less, And one last thing I was going to say was that this ability to concentrate, it's like it's really important, because, if I'm talking with someone, during class, it's understandable sometimes, because it's kind of like I'm talking and people are listening a lot of the time, so I can understand. But at least when I'm talking with someone, the conversation is more of them talking and where we're both talking. If I'm talking with someone and like I could see that that person's like not there, you know, they're like, I'm talking with them, but they're like thinking about the past, or they're like thinking about the future, or they're like, you know, God knows what they're thinking about this, thinking about that, thinking about so many things. In other words, they can't concentrate. And it's like, all right, well, you know, I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'll go find somebody else to talk to, because, you know, obviously this conversation is not really going anywhere. So, you know, see you later type of thing. So it's like really important, you know, that you had something.
It's just kind of a comment on the same thing. My son and I were flying to India about a year ago, and I think Orlando, Florida, and I think waiting room was a Lufthansa flight going to Frankfurt. You know, so it was full. Grandparents, parents, kids, 300 people waiting at the gate. And then we noticed it was dead silent. You know, like Srikadi Goswami could have spoken Bhagavatam, if anybody been interested. It was like that quiet. It was kind of astonishing because usually I wasn't used to that. And then we looked around and we realized everybody, from the little kids to the grandparents, everybody had their thing. You know, like the real little kids, they give fake ones just to start training so that they'll have their own real one. You know, and
Start the
to get
training
trained up for
process.
the games, and it's like this whole intake machine to get everybody hooked up. You know, and it creates such an impersonal atmosphere also. Like people aren't used to relating with other people anymore. You know, it's like the normal kind of, oh, how are you? Or, you know, there's little. It's almost dangerous now to like just say hello to somebody.
That's when these things started coming up, and Steve Jobs, you know, and the iPads and the iPhones, they wouldn't give it to their kids. They knew.
They knew.
The guys who were developing it, they tried to protect it.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
Consumers, they're taking over the whole flow of consciousness.
Yeah.
These things.
Showed to be adding Narajan, millions of subject matters right here.
That reminds me of like the ability to concentrate when we're chanting japa, because we have like 2 hours a day. So like when you're talking to someone and they're not paying attention, similarly when we're chanting and Krishna's there, you know, he's probably having that experience of the person actually.
Exactly.
Is this guy here, or is he somewhere else? Or is this girl here?
We are on phones and all that all day long, and how are we going to actually sit and focus for those 2 hours?
And don't forget, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said the source of all offenses is intention. Intention. All offenses.
I think my says to turn off all your phones, all your
Yeah.
computers, everything, during your job, so you don't get
As the
distracted.
great sage said, be here now. Still good. Advice.
Just to bring the point of concentration, I remember one of the first conversations I had with my spiritual master, and we were speaking, and I almost walked away because he wasn't responding to me. He was, where are you going? And it was such an uncomfortable, because he was really thinking about what he wanted to say. And I noticed when I watch him speak with other people, like there's like this period of silence that you really have to like calm down and focus and concentrate that he's really thinking what's the proper thing to say here.
Yeah.
In America, we're used to really quick. Okay, let's get it done. You know, let's have our quick communication. But I had to learn to like sit uncomfortably for at least 30 seconds so he could respond.
Yeah.
You know. So
That's funny.
it's an art of communication, like to speak and respond and hear and respond. Like the person hearing wants to respond properly, so you have to be patient.
Yeah.
To receive it.
That's pretty funny. So you asked him a question, he was just kind of like sitting there looking at you or whatever he was doing.
He was thinking.
He was thinking, yeah.
I'm